What's up, guys? This is Ofo, and I was just studying for my finals and all my damn tests, and I was like, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's commentate a YouTube video, a YouTube Pokemon video, and that's what I'm doing. So, I guess procrastination for the win. But I guess moving on, this is a Black and White 2 overused battle I had against zpokemasterben. Found him on the Wi-Fi battle finder, and it turned out to be a pretty decent game. So we decided to post it, but right away, looking at the team preview, I see a couple of threats. One, Alakazam, who can be a really big threat if left unchecked, and a really potent late-game sweeper, especially if it's sashed. And same with Breloom. I usually have trouble with those Technician Breelooms. Haven't faced too many of them, but every time I have, I've kind of gotten... Well, it's been difficult to counter it, so... Those are the two things I really want to watch out for. So my goal this game is, like, at least early game, is to try to break that Alakazam sash if it does have it, or and take out that Breloom. That's pretty much my goal. But I see that he has a lot of things that potentially weak to my Infernape, so I want to lead with that, especially because his two most common leads, and most likely leads, is his Ferrothorn and his Tyranitar. You know, Tyranitar to get up the sun. I mean, to get up the sand, and the Ferrothorn to get up those rocks. So I am going to decide to lead with my Infernape because I can threaten both those guys out. So fortunately for me, he does end up leading with Ferrothorn, but I expect him to want to conserve it, seeing as Ferrothorn's actually one of the better checks to rain team, seeing as it can resist it, the water attacks, and threaten him out with a Power Whip. So I do predict and go for a U-turn, but he actually goes for Protect, so now I'm thinking he might think I'm choiced. So I do go for Flare Blitz, and do fortunately get that Ferrothorn out of the way in the second turn, which is pretty huge. Of course, I do take a crazy amount of recoil damage from the Iron Barbs and the Flare Blitz recoil collectively, but it was worth it to get that Ferrothorn out of the way. So now he goes into his Alakazam. I'm not going to be outspeeding, and I want to conserve that Infernape because he can really threaten my opponent's team. So I do go into my Politoed, hoping that I can take a special hit because I'm specially defensive and, you know, do something to this Alakazam. Unfortunately, a Psyshock puts me on my weaker defensive end, which means that I'm going to be wanting to switch here. However, I know that I'm expecting him to maybe go into his Tyranitar to try to trap this Politoed in here. So I do actually, right this turn, go into my Ferrothorn, because I figure if he does go for Psyshock again, I can take that really well, seeing as I'm physically defensive and it's resisted. But if he goes into his Tyranitar, I can threaten it out with a Stab Power Whip. So that was my train of thought right there. So I do go into my Ferrothorn as he actually ends up going to his Latios, which is kind of a weird switch, but I guess it works. He goes for Hidden Power Fire, which I thought he might have, but it's in the rain, so it's not going to be really hurting me, and I really wanted to get this guy paralyzed, or at least something on his team paralyzed, and I knew he didn't have a ground type to absorb that, so... now, I think he does end up switching because he's paralyzed, and he can't really do much to me. But I'm not going to be... I don't like this engagement either because I'm taking too much from that Hidden Power Fire and I can't really hurt him. So I go out into my Mamoswine to... Because I could easily take that Hidden Power Fire in the rain because I am almost max HP and, you know, take it out with an Icicle Crash. But he does end up going for into his Alakazam. I do fear the Focus Blast or Hidden Power Fighting, so I go out into my Gyarados. And seeing that low damage from that Focus Blast, I think that he's probably Focus Sash, but because I am Scarfed, I'm able to outspeed, hit him down to his Sash, because that is a Stab Waterfall in the rain, and Alakazam is really frail, and I am actually able to take that Psyshock as well, pretty decently, so he does decide to conserve his Alakazam here, which is probably a good play, and goes on to his Breloom. Unfortunately, this was not a good play, because he thought he could take this better, but that is Stab that's in the rain, so... it's actually, I'm going to outspeed and get 2 hits off on him to get him down to red. And so with Life Orb Recoil, he's only going to be able to survive maybe 2 attacks. So that's really good. That Breloom is dead in all intents and purposes. So he does decide to go for Spore first, which I guess is a good plan because I wanted to switch even though I had no reason to. And he just goes for Bullet Seed and takes me out. Now he only has 1 hit left, and I don't want to go into my Mamoswine or my Infernape, and go for the priorities those have in case that somehow I actually get outsped and he goes for Mach Punch and kills me, or it does a huge chunk. So I decided to go into my Landorus, not my Landorus, my Thundurus, knowing that I can resist that Mach Punch and take him out. He actually doesn't even go for the Mach Punch, though. Um, he just lets him die, which is kind of weird. But I switch out to my Ferrothorn, predicting the Psyshock. He does predict that well and goes for some hidden power. I'm guessing Fire. Maybe it has to be Fire because he has Focus Blast. So strangely here, he decides to go for Focus Blast instead of going for another hidden power Fire, which is pretty foolish because I did go for Thunder Wave that turn, and if that Focus Blast had missed, which is very probable, then that Alakazam would have been literally worthless. But it doesn't really matter. I go into my Mamoswine and just take him out with that Ice Shard. So the two biggest threats that I noticed at the beginning of the match that I wanted to get out of the way, Alakazam and Breloom, are now dead. So now it's kind of a matter of time because I really have a typing advantage, and really my Mamoswine and my Infernape can seriously threaten the rest of his team. Now the only thing that's really standing in the way between my Mamoswines from a Mamoswine sweep is that Air Balloon that Heatran has. Now, I could probably take a Fire Blast, a Lava Plume, because it is in the rain and I have an HP investment. But I figure I don't want to risk it. I want to play it safe, and I go into my Infernape. He actually predicts the switch, I think, into my Politoed and goes for that Hidden Power Grass, but it doesn't matter. I can absorb that as well. And I just go for the safe close combat because I need that Heatran out of the way. He goes into his Latios here, and I actually didn't expect this U-turn to kill, but it does, which kind of shows that that was definitely an offensive set. If that was defensive at all, any HP investment or defense investment, that wouldn't have killed. So now I just go into my Mamoswine, knowing that the only thing he's going to want to go into if I go into my Mamoswine is that Heatran, and I want to force that Heatran out. So I do switch out, seeing the Heatran just go right back into my Infernape. Now, this turn he actually goes to Fire Blast and misses, and I don't know if that would have mattered. I guess it is, especially if that had attack investment, but honestly, I don't think it mattered at all in the long run because I could have taken a hit with my Mamoswine easily and gone for Ice Shard, broken his Air Balloon, and then gone for Earthquake and taken him out. So, but because of that Fire Blast miss, I'm actually just able to take out the rest of his team with this Infernape. So that is actually going to be the game after this Tyranitar meets a very solemn death from the hands of Infernape with a close combat. In fact, this Infernape did work this game. I'm pretty sure it took out maybe 5 of the enemy team's Pokemon. I think the only guy who didn't die to Infernape is that Breloom, who died to Thundurus. But whatever. I think it was a pretty good game. Honestly, he did have some serious threats. I was really kind of worried about Alakazam and Breloom at the beginning of the just from the team preview. But I think I played it well. I was able to take out those major threats, and then all I had to do was work around the rest of his team, and that's the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I sure did, and that's going to be it. Bye.